Hello, everyone, wherever you are in Argentina, all over the world. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Eleonora Salas, Director of Studies at Icana Binational Center in Córdoba, Argentina. Welcome to this 15th webinar of the Teaching Capacity Building Program 2021. If you are joining us for the first time, let me tell you that we started this professional development program for EFL teachers last year in response to the COVID-19 pandemic challenge. For the past 19 months, this 2021, teachers all over the world have been working together, focusing on building resilience and embracing all the changes in education. This year, and thanks again to the unconditional support of the US Embassy in Argentina, 3 binational centers have been hosting this teaching capacity building program. Aticana from Tucumán, Icana from Córdoba, and Isicana from Salta, 3 American spaces. The program consists of a series of 15 webinars delivered by a group of committed and hardworking English teachers who are all alumni of US Embassy sponsored programs. They have been generously sharing their best practices during these challenging times to help EFL teachers in their current teaching practice, virtual, in-person, or hybrid. Our deepest thanks to all the alumni presenters and the US Embassy for their help in the organization and delivery of this program. And a special thanks to Noris Sarda, who is joining us today from the Embassy. Noris, thank you, because you have been our mentor and the person who started and who is the soul of this program.
Thank you, Eleonora. For me, it's a real pleasure to introduce your presentation and to tell you from my heart, I'm very thankful for this great job you have achieved along with the BNCs in Tucumán and Salta. And this great job in Icana has a leader, and that's you. And I'm very thankful for this great job. So thank you, team. Thank you to the speakers. And thank you to all the attendees who accompany us along the year. It's a pleasure for me to introduce you. Thank you.
Thank you. And well, I would like to know where all of you are from. We are not that many, so please go ahead and tell us in the chat where you are joining us today from. Oh, I see somebody from Ghana, from, well, Tucumán, Córdoba. As you know, let me start sharing my screen. So I tell you a little bit what we are going to do. Give me a second. Mariano, I can't find the link.
Go to the tab. Genially, in the middle of the Chrome.
Yes, but it Sorry about this.
Go to Chrome and the tab in Genially.
Yes, I will start again.
Okay.
Hi, Monica. I see you there from Córdoba. I have the bar on top and I cannot see.
Yeah, then go to Genially, the tab.
Yes, but the problem is that the bar is covering everything. The Zoom bar is on top, not at the bottom.
Okay. Would you prefer that I share screen?
Can you please? Because
Yes.
I cannot move the top bar to the bottom.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, can everyone see now? Yeah, okay. So for today, can you please show the next one? Okay. My presentation for today is called Teachers and Students Learning Path, Narratives of Growth. Why do I say narratives of growth? You know that everything is about storytelling nowadays, and learning is about storytelling and telling your own story as a learner, as a teacher, and how everyone learns and builds their own path. This program that we started last year is called Teaching Capacity Building Program. You may wonder why we decided to call it Capacity Building Program. And I have to confess that I did not know really why we were calling it capacity building when all the time among teachers, we talk about teacher development, professional development. So let me tell you what capacity building means according to the United Nations. Can you please pass to the second one, Mariana? Okay. So what we plan for today is to learn what is capacity building, to share some stories of learning, to learn about 8 things that teachers need in order to grow, and to reflect on our students' journeys. What is, let me explain why I chose this picture here. And I have to, please, I apologize if, you know, this Genially presentation, for me, it's a new tool. And I chose this template with the spiral bound, which is perfectly related to all these notebooks that you see here. We all know as teachers that one of the ways in which teachers reflect is by writing journals. I don't know if you have ever written a journal. I've tried several times to start writing the journal. but I could really never do it. But then I realized that all these notebooks I have my notes of every single class, of every single webinar or presentation I have attended for the past maybe 4 years. So I took a picture of all of them, and I have kept them all because from time to time I go over my notes, and this collection is in fact part of my learning journey and my path of growth as a teacher. Let's go to the next one to see what capacity building is. This is a long statement by the United Nations. I have two things on this slide. On the left, how capacity building is defined, and on the right, one of the most important sustainable development goals for 2030. So we will go over both. Capacity building is defined as a process of developing and strengthening the skills, instincts, abilities, processes, and resources that organizations and communities need to survive, adapt, and thrive in a fast-changing world. I will stop here so that you reflect on this. We have the words developing, strengthening. We have skills, instincts, abilities, processes, resources, and we are involving organizations, communities. We are part of the communities, we, the teachers, the students. And all these communities need all these skills, instincts, and abilities to survive, to adapt, and to thrive. And notice that is this thrive in this fast-changing world. An essential ingredient in capacity building is transformation that is generated and sustained over time from within. And I want to underscore this. Transformation generated and sustained over time from within. This word sustained, that is a hip word now. We have sustain, sustainable. And this is our challenge, to sustain this transformation over time. And this transformation, the transformation of this kind, goes beyond performing tasks to changing mindsets and attitudes. So let's remember this, changing mindsets and attitudes. Here on the right, we have the Sustainable Development Goal, number 4, quality education. If you remember, if you attended Gonzalo's presentation, he enlightened us all with all the Sustainable Development Goals. And within these 17 goals, quality education is at the top. So the goal is, and the target is, to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Notice the lifelong learning opportunities for all. So this is an introduction, and to understand why what we have been doing since last year has been precisely building capacity in teachers, in learners, and having an impact on quality education. I told you at the beginning that we're talking about stories, storytelling, narratives of growth. Before we continue, I have a question for you. And besides, I want to explain that this presentation, the link to the presentation, will be shared on the chat, so everyone will have access to it. You know that we genially, when you click on one of these interactive icons, you go to another link. If you click here, you will go to the United Nations page, the website where you have this capacity building definition. I want to ask you to think and write, please, in the chat, if you have a special word or a favorite word in English at this time of your in your career, in your journey as a teacher, at this very special time. We are still living the pandemic. Is there any favorite word that you have in English? Then I will share mine. But if you have a favorite word, please write it in the chat. I would like to read it. You have challenge, Miguel. Love it. Yes. Resilience. Yes. These are very words that we are using. How many times during the day? How many times do we use these words in a class? Flexibility, of course. Yes. Oh, hello, Monali from India. Collaboration, empathy. Yes. We have been using these words, and have we been sharing these words with students? Do you think your students know how to use these words? Patience, yes, Graciela, patience. Respect. Yes, something that we would like, you know, to show all the time, and that we would like everyone to show us all the time. Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing your favorite words at this moment. Let me share mine. Can you, Mariano, go to the next slide? If you see, my favorite word at this time, and let's say for the past 2 years, has been the word serendipity. Let me know if you know what this word means. Do we have it in Spanish? Okay, here we have one definition. It's the happy faculty or luck of finding unforeseen evidence of one's ideas, or with surprise, coming upon new objects or relations which were not being thought of. Such a formal definition. You see, this definition is by Dr. Walter Cannon. By serendipity, I found this in an article he wrote that is called Gains from Serendipity, in a book called The Way of an Investigator from 1945. Let me tell you the story of how I came upon this word and how I found this. You know, we are an American Space, a Binational Center, and we have a library, and every 2 years we do weeding, which is, you know, removing books from the shelves that have not been borrowed or checked out in more than 3 years. And I found a book while I was doing the weeding that is called Ports of Entry, Scientific Concerns. And since I am a teacher of reading comprehension to biology students, I thought, you know, that the book might be useful. And when I started reading, I found this article that is called Gains from Serendipity. And I'm going to tell you the story of how this word came about. In fact, it was Horace Walpole who coined this word in 1754, so centuries ago. And the story is that he based his proposal to include this word in the English language because he knew a folk tale about three princes of Serendip, sorry. Serendip is the name of a country that today is called Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, that is an island nation to the southeast of India, in the Indian Ocean. There was this kingdom of Serendip, and there were three princes there. And these three princes used to travel, and every time they traveled, they made discoveries by accident. They discovered things which they were not looking for. And so when the word is mentioned in dictionaries, it is used to designate exactly this that you are reading in the slide. This lack of finding some unexpected evidence of one's ideas, or maybe finding new objects or relations that you were not looking for. In this article, Gains from Serendipity, Dr. Cannon tells of, one example of an accidental discovery, a very famous example in history, which is exactly, when Columbus accidentally arrived in America, thinking, that he had found another route, or a shorter route to get to East Indies. But quite unexpectedly, he encountered a whole new world. And as Dr. Cannon was a scientist, he refers to records of scientific investigation that has this kind of serendipity or these discoveries. And he mentions Pasteur. He was led by chance to his method of immunization because one day an old bacterial culture was used to inoculate chickens, and the chickens became ill, but they did not die. And this happening was enlightening for him because he thought that possibly, by first using cultures that had little virulence and then repeating the injections with cultures of greater virulence, the animals could develop some kind of immunity or resistance to infection gradually. And his assumption was correct. And by this procedure, he was able to immunize sheep against anthrax, and he also immunized human beings against rabies. Another example that he mentions of this serendipitous happening is the story of Archimedes and how he noted by chance, he noticed that his body floated in water. And another example is Newton, when he came up with the concept of universal law of gravitational force just by watching an apple fall from a tree. But Dr. Cannon points out, that of course these things, these phenomena must have happened hundreds of times before these two people noticed that and thought about something specific with this phenomenon. So he mentions this idea of having this chance discovery with a prepared mind, having these people who could observe phenomena and at the same time being intelligent observers. One important thing that Dr. Cannon points out about Pasteur is that he emphasized this idea of chance favoring the prepared mind and an open mind. And I want you to keep this in mind. We are being redundant with the word mind, because this is what is needed now more than ever, having an open mind and a prepared mind to be favored by chance and to be creative and to come up with solutions to problems. So this is just the story of the origin of the word serendipity. And I started with the story because we have had lots of stories happening during the pandemic, and of course, always. Stories are part of our lives. And all of us have stories of how we grow as teachers, as professionals, and our students have their own stories about how they grow as learners. We can go to the next slide. So our next section is about stories of learning. And this will be stories of learning in these past 19 months with a little bit of humor. Imagine that we are in a class. We do this all the time with our students. We show them pictures and ask them to tell stories. My serendipity, my chance discovery was scrolling, on Instagram or browsing through magazines and finding cartoons. We all love cartoons to use in our classes. So I'm going to share with you my serendipitous discoveries of cartoons that we can use in our classes. But at this time, we will be coming up with the stories that happen to all of us in this pandemic. I'm sure most of you will feel, identified with this. And you can please make comments in the chat. Who has not been here? If I showed you my home right now, the strategic cleanup for this Zoom call, I cannot even move right or left because I have piles of books and papers surrounding me. And I guess some of you must have gone through the same situation. And our students too. And perhaps this is one of the reasons why they refuse to turn on their cameras many times. So this is one story of the pandemic. Everything we did and we had to do to move, to transition to remote teaching overnight. And Miguel, yes, we use the background picture. So as you know, we hide our own messy or cluttered backgrounds at home. Let's go to another story, Mariano. Okay. You probably have seen this one. We have here, you know, an elementary class versus a high school class. And you can see what's going on. Those of you who have been teaching children, you see the teacher here saying, okay, settle down, everyone. And the kids, everyone, you know, is trying to share what's going on in their rooms. My dog is here. This one, am I on mute? My chair fell over. This one has bananas. And here's my room, showing her room. This is my dad's shoe. But what's the situation with high school students or with teens? The teacher is there. Can anyone say good morning? Anyone? And nobody is answering. How many of you have had this challenge? You can share in the chat if you have had this challenge, if you are still having this story going on in your lives, because not everyone is teaching in person right now. But again, this is another story. Yes, and here Monica says, I did with the university students. Yes, and they, I totally understand. I have had the same challenge. Let's go to another story, Mariano. Here, kids during online school, again. You see no problems with technology here. There is connectivity. The kid has the computer and the teacher is asking, does anyone have any questions about this assignment? Anyone? No questions? You all understand? Okay, let's sign off and you can get to work. And the moment the students sign off to work asynchronously, what does the kid say? Mom, I need help. I don't understand this assignment. How many times has this happened to us? And again, this is a story for us to reflect upon, that we cannot just take for granted that students have understood, especially in remote classes, what they have to do. And teachers have been very creative, you know, trying to check all the time that students understand what they have to do. So the teacher could have just simply asked one of the students, or this one in particular, to explain in her own words what she was supposed to do. Another story, Mariano. This is about a mom. How many of you are moms and have been on the verge of, you know, collapsing and breaking down? Here, what does the mom say? Oh my gosh, there's so much going on. I seriously can't handle one more thing. And then the girl shows up. I lost my code to log into school. And the boy, I spilled water on the computer. Mom, hello, mom. Well, mom. And what's the situation? I think she finally lost it. So this moment, you know, of collapse and breakdown has been very frequent. I don't know if you have your own stories about this, but probably most of us, you know, at some point during the pandemic felt that we were burning out. Another story, Mariana. I love this one. It's from the New Yorker cartoon. Look at all the family, even the pets. It's great to have something we can all do together. And they are all climbing up the wall, going crazy. In lockdown, how many times did you feel like this? Even your pets. Do you have any similar stories to share? I'm sure you do. Another story, Mariana. Then what happens? Gradually, we could go back to in person, and we were all concerned and worried about, getting infected, and we didn't know exactly, how the virus was transmitted. So parents look at their eyes, they were so worried. Of course, this exaggeration. The kids look so cute in their new back to school clothes. By the way, do you know what this protective coveralls are called? That are used for, yes, the hazmat suit. And you know the origin of that word. Hazmat is has from hazardous and mat from material. So it's to protect yourself from hazardous materials, mainly chemicals. And of course, this breathing mask. So another story of, all of us taking our own sanitizers to school. And this, look at her eyes. This terrible feeling, I'm sure all of us felt like this at some point. Now we are all more relaxed, and in many cases, the mask is there, but it's not tightly fit, and nobody cares. Some of us still do, and we still care. So this sort of summarizes, all this anxiety that we have been feeling for the past 19 months. Another story, Mariana. Look at this one. Again, the teacher is already in class. We are all in person. And you remember kids used to have this excuse for not bringing the homework, that the dog ate my homework. What does this one say? The interminable nightmare we are all living through ate my homework. Really hilarious. Okay, another story. And what about the parents at home? Those who are working remotely, not necessarily teachers, all the parents. What does the dad say here? I can't remember. Do I work at home or do I live at work? Lots of stories to tell about how we have been coping with the pandemic and how we have been growing with it. The next slide, Mariana. Okay, I told you that my word is serendipity, because, I found a very interesting website that is called TeachThought. It's here at the bottom. And in this interactive slide, you will get here the link to the website. And here, Mariano, since you are sharing, can you please hover on the first one in the middle of the tree? In the middle of the tree, that one. Yes, thank you. So this is the author of the website, Terry Hike. And this is what he believes. To truly improve teacher capacity over time in a sustainable way, and please remember that this is the goal of capacity building. It's more about mindset, curiosity, and a sense of progress and belonging. Here are 8 things I've noticed that every teacher needs in order to grow. And this is his idea of what a teacher needs to grow. You can start hovering, Mariano, there, yes, with pedagogical knowledge. Yes. This is one of the first things we need. We have always needed this to grow. Knowledge is everything. It spawns creativity, potential, and purpose. And we need knowledge about our content area, about how to teach, and about how people learn. Let me clarify that this website is for educators from kinder to grade 12. It's not a website for EFL teachers in particular. But everything that's there is useful for all teachers and all educators. So the 8 things: pedagogical knowledge, humility. You can hover over humility. What does this mean? If we want to grow, we have to change. And change requires self-awareness, the ability to see yourself, the ability to see your strengths and weaknesses, and the need for change. Honesty coupled with humility leads to growth. Then what else do we need? Vision. What is it? Teachers who grow have the ability to see what's happening around them, to see what's happening inside them, to see what's working and what's not working, so they can make adjustments and grow. We also need collaboration. Let's say you have found a great strategy, an EdTech tool, or a framework for collaboration. What do? You share that knowledge with a diverse audience that you think will read it, will value it, and will share it themselves. And then you start a ripple. This is what all the alumni presenters have been doing in these past 2 years in this teaching capacity building program. What's another thing that every teacher needs in order to grow? This idea of belonging. You can hover over belonging. What do? Consistently look to integrate the content you read. Don't just seek to use things, but rather to fuse them with other important pieces of the teaching and learning process. Very important. You see how everything connects, how everything is part of something bigger. Teachers also need balance in reflection. Take a moment and look at the work students complete and the strategies you as a teacher use to prepare them for that work. Let's take a close look at student engagement. So we should constantly be asking ourselves, when am I at my best? What do I need to grow? We also need diverse perspectives. You can hover over the diverse perspectives, Mariana. We have to challenge ourselves and our opinions by diversifying, confronting new possibilities with a critical eye and an open mind. This is how we grow. Again, you see this idea of the open mind and the prepared mind. And finally, according to Terry Hike, we also need a sense of priority. And this means that we have to be selective in what we read. We have to pare down the sources. It's like less is more. Anywhere from 5 to 10 blogs or social channels should be more than enough to support our growth as educators and allow for change. We cannot read everything, but let's focus on 5 or 10, websites or blogs or Instagram accounts that will keep us, updated and will support our learning and our growth. Mariano, if you can please click on the middle of the tree, because I want everyone to see the website. You see, you can go and find lots of interesting stuff in this by Terry Hike, and plenty of other articles to read, and not just by him. Thank you, Mariano. Let's go back to the other slide. We get now to our students' journeys. Do we, and here I would like everyone to think of questions that we ask about how we help our students in their journeys, in their learning journeys. And I want to share a wonderful resource from Forum magazine. As you see again in this slide, you have all these interactive icons. If you click on this one, you will find an article in Forum magazine that is called Identifying and Building Grit in Language Learners. If you click at the bottom, there will be a link to an activity, a very nice activity to build grit. And here in this other icon, a puzzle on grit. The three all related to this idea of what grit really means. This determination, this perseverance and passion for long-term goals. Grit entails working strenuously towards challenges, maintaining effort and interest over years despite failure, adversity, and plateaus in progress. The gritty individual approaches achievement as a marathon, because his or her advantage is stamina. This article in Forum magazine, it's volume 55, 2017, was written by a former English language fellow in the Philippines, Kelly Keegan. She's now working at the University of Iowa. I please encourage you to read this article, because you will get lots of ideas on how to help students develop grit. First of all, you should reflect on how you have developed grit. And probably all of you who are, I guess, most of us today are teachers of English and are not native speakers of English. We develop grit, a lot of grit, learning to speak English ourselves and to keep up our English. We need this perseverance and passion, and we are gritty. And after all these 19 months of remote and hybrid teaching, we have become really gritty. Mariano, if you could show at least the one in the board, the link on the blackboard where it says "Don't give up." Here is a nice activity that is called Go for the Grit. It will take some time, you know, to read, but I encourage you to try it in your classes. And can you show the link to the article? Go back to the slide. The one at the bottom on the left. Below the other one. Okay. Yes. So this is the article. Remember, identifying and building grit in language learners. So I'm asking you, all of this is about helping our students develop the grit they need to build their journeys. My question is, if all this capacity building that we have been doing on our own, because I'm sure all of you have been participating in webinars, taking courses, does all this capacity building effectively impact on our students' learning path? Do we help our students make like an inventory of tools and resources to have, you know, when they start their journey, their adventures, if they were explorers, like the National Geographic explorers? Do we help them to gather data about their own performance so that they can become self-modifying in their journey of continuous learning? Maria says to go up. Yes, the name of the article is Identifying and Building Grit in Language Learners. And you will have it in the presentation, in the link in the chat. Let's go to the next slide. Again, another quote by Terry Hike. Remember, the link will be there to access the article. This article is on his website called TeachThought. He said, as a teacher, it makes sense to learn endlessly, not just to model it for students, but to keep my own curiosity and tendency for play stirring and alive. I'm never going to stop learning. That is my gift to myself. And I totally agree with what he said. And I'm sure you all do. It's the gift to ourselves, you know, this passion to never stop learning. Can we pass it on to our students? Can we help them feel the same way? This is our challenge. This is our goal. So we are reaching the end. Let's go to the next slide, Mariano. Let's end with some humor. You know, like Minds are like parachutes. They only function when open. And we are recapping, as we started at the beginning, with this idea of serendipity and finding patterns and connections that we were not looking for, but finding them and putting them together with lots of other things that we know or that we have experienced, because we have a prepared mind, because we have an open mind. So I hope all of you can remain open to continuous learning. And I hope all of you can join us next year when we start again our teaching capacity building program. So thank you very much for joining us today. Yes, let's keep our parachute open, of course, all the time. Thank you, Miguel. And thank you all for joining us today. Thank you all for participating in the webinars and for helping your students. I want to thank every single one of our presenters this year. There, Mariano is posting the certificate of attendance. And I want to thank Denise Andersen, Edith Luna Villanueva, Gabriel Rojo, Laura Giacomini, María Bosta, Sandra Ojeda, Romina Maracita, María Laura García, Gonzalo Díaz, Rita Aldorino, Alba Rioja, Laura Lechesi, and Daniela Melgin, for sharing, their stories of growth, for sparking and sustaining change, for building capacity by opening minds. Thank you, Norris. And see you soon, but please, the chat is open if you want to ask questions, if you want to make comments. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Norris and Giselle. And we couldn't have done this without this support of the embassy, of the public affairs section, and our mentor, Norris. Thank you. Thank you, my dear directors from Aticana, Gaby Marota, and Claudia Corimayo, who have been hosting the program with us. Thank you, and see you next year. Bye-bye.